In this episode, we drive further into the mountains of North Albania. Starting in Shkodër, we drive to the village of Selcë, where we meet local guide Anton. From here, we set off on a challenging vertical hike to reach the remote village of Mregu. With no road access and a population of less than 20 people, we speak to one of the last remaining residents and discover a way of life that's quickly disappearing as younger generations head for the cities, leaving the resilient elderly inhabitants to uphold a traditional way of life that has existed in these mountains for thousands of years. Welcome to the Accursed Mountains. Morning guys,
Hello.
We're coming to you from the beautiful Albanian Alps where we stayed last night. We're in this tiny little village called Selcë where we're meeting our guide, and he's going to be taking us way up into the mountains today to meet some of the people living in some of the most remote villages of the Albanian Alps.
Yeah, we've got quite a climb ahead of us today. It's going to be good fun. We can't wait to meet some people up there.
We've got to climb about 500 metres to begin with. It's going to be, he said, a 40-minute hike, but for us probably more like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You can expect to double that.
We've started at 7:30 this morning because we know that we're quite slow walkers. We've got a lot of gear with us, so we're just going to take our time, take in the views, and see who we can meet along the way.
And
Can't
of course,
wait.
take you along with us.
Let's go.
At 8 a.m, we met our guide, Anton. Feeling a mixture of excitement and trepidation as we looked up at the mountains, we began our hike, starting in the grounds of the village church. So we're heading up there to that ridge. Not too far. At the base of the mountain, we encountered a mule waiting to be loaded. As with many villages in the Albanian Alps, mules are an essential part of daily life for the inhabitants of Mregu, used for transporting supplies to the most inaccessible homes. This particular mule was beginning his daily journey to fetch hay from the villagers at the top of the mountain, which was one of the ways in which they could earn a small income. With no cargo on the way up, the mule can be ridden, allowing its owner to free his hands for more important activities.
So we're just on the way up to the village now, and been overtaken by a man on a mule, and he's got that serious mountain swagger. Got a nice fag on the go, riding his mule up the mountain.
Going to collect some hay.
Having a much easier ride of it than we are. This is a seriously steep hill.
Well, I know we're not the fittest of hikers, and our guide Anton says he can do this in 40 minutes, but still, imagine having to do this walk every time you want to get to your house, every time you want to go to the shops or get anything. There's no easy way up here, it's straight up. You've got to admire the resilience of these people. As the morning sun began to warm the air, we continued climbing the rocky mountain path. The hike was relentless, and the incline was steep and seemingly never-ending. The terrain was harder than any previous climb we'd tackled, with huge chunks of rock crumbling away underfoot at every step. This was not your typical tourist trail, carved out by hobbyist hikers. This was a lifeline for just a small handful of people and a dwindling population. There were no signposts, no ropes, nothing between you and a long fall back down into the valley. The only signs of life at this point were the makeshift poles propping up the electricity cables that ran up the mountainside to the villages.
So I think a lot of us, me and Lucy included, have this kind of really romantic idea of living up in the mountains in the middle of nowhere, and we find it really sad and such a shame that people are deciding to move out of these areas to the cities, but you can't blame them. You know, we've got such an easy life in the West, and why shouldn't these people have the same privilege? With things like Facebook and Instagram nowadays, younger generations can see what it's like to live in more populated areas, and it's no wonder that they want to experience the same kind of lifestyle. But it is true that these areas are emptying out completely, and hopefully today we can speak to some of the last remaining people here.
So we just filled up at this spring. It's lovely ice cold mountain water, and this is also where most of the residents in this area will get their drinking water from as well.
Arriving at the spring meant we were close to the village. A final push was needed as the mountainous landscape began to give way to a beautifully isolated plateau.
So we've just made it to one of the villages up here in the mountains. Most of the houses are abandoned, at least for this time of the year, for the winter months. So hopefully someone's about. Now we can go and have a chat to them. So there's definitely one house that's lived in just behind us, but we're just trying to establish where the people are at the moment. There's no one around. It's very eerily quiet actually. No life at all.
Apart from that person there.
Oh, apart from this person just behind us. Here
See
we go.
any?
Perfect. See any?
After 3 hours of intense hiking, we had arrived at the closest village from our starting point. The village of Mregu sits atop a luscious plateau rising 1100 metres above the Selcë valley below. In the 16th century, families sought land on higher ground to escape from Ottoman invasion. Over the past 100 years, however, they relocated in search of grazing land and water sources. Now home to just 5 families, the village has seen a steady decline in population over the years, as has the entire Kelmend region. Until communist rule began in Albania in the 1940s, there were no roads connecting Kelmend to the rest of the country. And although there is now a newly paved main road running through the valley, many of the residents' homes will only ever be accessible by foot. We were invited into Argos Home, where we enjoyed a Turkish coffee brewed in a traditional jezve before we were shown around.
This is where they keep the cheese. So the better container to keep the cheese you say in wooden ones, you know, like in
yes.
ones.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's, you know, that's the buttermilk that they do. Isn't that one? I know you saw that before. Klynin natku.
So she explained how they do the buttermilk, you know.
Ka ashtu meder.
That's sage. And kjo është çoja?
Jo, ka
Okay,
medra.
medra. This is the sage.
Sage, yeah.
That's sage, and that is, you know this one?
Të janë lule
This is-
galiche.
It's cowslip. I don't know if you know cowslip.
okay.
Yeah,
Ta meder.
that's sage.
Shërbela që i thoni. Ta çoja.
Well, this is the mountain tea
Mos
that
këto
we
i lanë
use.
vërë veç.
Kind of time family as
Juli
well.
fësie
But
këto.
this is what we call in North mountain tea.
Right.
And this is what they will serve, offer you all the time, you know. Like
Mountain
kind of,
tea, yeah.
yeah.
Very nice.
Qështu ja
And the rose hips as well.
ai dhuni në gjë.
Yeah, mos e përmend, yeah, this way.
Do they bring the washing machines up with mule or?
Yeah, the makinën gavetriçin e ke sjell me moshkës, e?
Me krabë sa kanë qitë, lill me navic. Po lill me navic që qitë ka dy vetë, me konop,
Oh, yeah.
shiten në rësh.
So
Ashtu më të ashtu.
that's crazy. So they used two wooden poles, and they would fix it somewhere in middle, the washing machine, and then one in behind and one in front. They were carrying themselves. Like,
So they manually bring it each?
yeah.
My
yeah.
goodness.
Because it seems that the mule is so hard though.
Yeah.
To carry, yeah.
So that must take all day.
Yeah, so sa ka gjatë me sa ka vënë me çu?
4 orë bojnë.
4 hours.
4 hours.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
not
the
just
same
3
time as it
hours,
took
yeah.
us to walk up.
That's good.
Okay.
We followed Arga outside so she could show us around her farm and tell us about her way of life. In a field adjacent, she keeps her sheep, using their milk to make butter and cheese, their wool to knit clothing and rugs, and eventually using them for their meat. We were then led on to the smokehouse, where her meat supply was cured and stored for the season.
Oh wow, okay. So they cure it in here, yeah?
Yeah, everything is here.
Stop.
Okay.
Këto i bajnë gjarmin, ti
When it's
muhet.
mild, and
Yeah.
they just kill the pig. What they do, they make some fire.
Yeah, and they smoke
Because
it. Of
otherwise it could be spoiled, you know.
Yeah.
With the insects and whatever. you
course,
know.
yeah.
So yeah. So what you see almost everything. Over there are intestines.
Yeah.
You know, you see those.
Dried,
Everything is eaten.
yeah.
You know, like everything what you see here.
So nothing's wasted on the animal,
No,
everything's
almost
used.
Nothing,
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, for sure. Ushqimi vet, mishi vet.
Ah,
deri
12
kur
muaj.
marrën.
Deri kur marrën, deri...
Kur sa zgjat ty në shtëpi, sa
We were led through the fields and around to the back of the property, admiring the panoramic mountain views as we walked, with Arga refusing to let me carry any of my equipment.
So this lady, bless her, is actually just carrying everything that Lucy was carrying earlier, and pretty sure she's going to end up giving Lucy a backie in a minute. She's going to end up carrying Lucy as well.
Arga showed us to the barn where her cows were kept, and it was time for them to have a drink. The cows are used for milk, as well as being sold at market, generating the family an income, along with collecting and selling medicinal mountain herbs.
Aty që ne vëllë mojnë në shesin, blejnë beri sjetën për më moj baktinë.
The barren landscape of the Kelmend region offers little means for supporting life, yet on this small plateau, at an altitude of 1100 metres, the vegetation is abundant, allowing the villagers to graze their livestock and make hay to sell to the villages below. This area, once populated with many families, is now home to no more than 20 people. Many homes now lie abandoned, repurposed by the remaining inhabitants or else left to crumble into the ground, as people relocated to the city in search of an easier life. Living in such a remote area comes with its challenges, and Arga explained to us the long journey she must make to stock up on supplies for the winter, which she cannot produce herself. Although it was hard to imagine on such a mild day, this village was regularly buried under 2 meters of snow, cutting the villagers off from civilization entirely for months at a time. You can view the photo essay on our website at www.lbjournals.com. It was time to say goodbye, and let Arga carry on with her work before the sun would set. We began our hike down the other side of the mountain, a longer but gentler route, passing by an incredible waterfall that fell high from the cliffs above. Despite having been to the Albanian Alps before, we were truly blown away by the simplicity and difficulties of village life here. And the idea of making a journey this long and arduous to reach your home was both admirable and incomprehensible. After several hours of walking, we arrived back in Selcë just before darkness fell.
We finally made it back to the van. Don't think it should have been, but that was probably the toughest hike we've ever done. It climbs 600 metres in about 2 kilometres, so you can imagine it was just like this the whole way. You know, we didn't get to warm up or anything, it was just straight into that like solid hike, and we haven't recovered all day, to be honest, have we?
The descent was actually just as hard as the going up.
So I think we've earned a nice cold beer. We can head down to the local bar and have a nice cold drink
And collapse.
and ponder life. Well, I don't know where to begin with that. It was absolutely like one of the best things we've ever done, you know. It was really on par with the last time we came to this mountainous area, and we hiked for a very long time to meet the remote villagers there as well. It's really inspiring and just the most incredible thing to see. Like, she's living out there by herself, and that was such a struggle for us. Our guide said he could do it in 40 minutes, and you know, I probably do believe him. He's been doing it since he was 5 years old, he said. And some summers he'll be walking up that hill twice in one day. Up, down, up, down. So, yeah, we haven't really done a lot of exercise this winter because the weather's been not great.
Cold, yeah.
You know, if we'd have done it just after summer when we're like fresh out of work and we've been sort of active every day, I think we would have smashed it, but it was embarrassingly slow and painful for us.
It took like 4 hours, but that was with many stops for filming along the way. We probably spent about an hour filming in total,
Yeah.
so it was only 3 hours. I don't know how many kilometres it was to get up there, maybe like 4 or 5, but you had the vertical climb of like 500 metres in altitude.
Yeah, it was actually 600 metres from base,
Yeah.
where we started, yeah.
And the rocks, these big rocks underneath you, just constantly slipping under your feet, and you're just sliding around the whole time when we're not really as sure-footed as the mountain folk.
No, it wasn't as clear-cut a path. It was a national hiking route, but it wasn't as clear-cut as, say, the Dolomites would be, you know, with a proper path that's been well looked after and maintained.
Yeah.
It was really slippery under your feet, and it was crazy. But it was actually, like, kind of shameful when the lady said, like, she got her washing machine up there by 2 guys, and they had the washing machine between them on 2 long poles, and it took them 4 hours to walk up with a washing machine. It took us 4 hours just to drag our own bodies up there. So, yeah, we've got
Fair
something for sure. But, yeah, what an amazing time, you know. That lady was so welcoming, and it just really speaks volumes about everyone in this area. You could just go and knock on someone's door, and they're so happy to see you because they don't get people up there very often, you know.
And they just invite you in for a coffee and a raki, just like that. And
Yeah, that's it. She made us a lovely coffee and raki, and we had a really nice time up there.
yeah.
Unfortunately, something really terrible happened. Our footage, as I'm not sure how we're going to play this out in the edit yet, but you might have noticed already that we didn't actually have her on camera during the interview with her voice, and that's because our microphone let us down. So we actually did an 8-hour round trip hike the other day, all for nothing basically.
Probably the hardest hike we've ever done,
Yeah.
and we've got nothing to show for it.
Our microphone completely failed, so
There's no audio on the interview, it's just crackling. Everything else is great, all the other footage, the hiking footage, the drone shots, everything, the photos, brilliant. Just the interview, which is probably like the most crucial part of the whole project.
yeah, it's
We're just-
heartbreaking. I'm absolutely devastated. I mean, it literally nearly brought me to tears. The work that went into it. It was,
planning.
you know, this is 2 years in the making. We started this whole project 2 years ago. The documentary idea came around and we really wanted to wrap it up this time in Albania because we don't know when we're going to be able to come back. And it was looking so good. You know, the weather played ball for us. It was almost too hot on the hike up there. And now, I'm not sure if you can see this, but it's raining really hard. It's been raining really hard for about 48 hours now. We're actually just at the side of Komani Lake and the snow level has dropped significantly. So where we were sort of basking in sunshine at this lady's house the other day is now under about half a metre of snow. And it's not going to go away anytime soon. So we were thinking worst case we can just go back and film her ourselves, but I don't think we're going to be able to. So it's kind of left us in a bit of a really sad state, to be honest with you. And I don't want to like lower the tone of this video, but you can imagine the sort of pain we're feeling now. There's such hard work went into it, you know, and we had
Everything fell
such
into
good
place
things.
so perfectly
Yeah.
on that day, and now it's all just gone. Unbelievable. But you know, we're gonna try a couple more avenues before we have to leave Albania in a few days' time.
Yeah.
And we really don't want to leave because it's been the most amazing time in this country, and I feel like there's so many more people living in these remote places that we could speak to if we just had a bit longer here.
Yeah, there is actually. Just quickly, so when we got to the spring that you might have seen in the video, we had a choice. We could go to 3 houses or we could go just to the one house that we ended up at. So there are 4 houses up there in total that are still inhabited. And our plan was to visit them all. We just didn't have time because
We took too long.
we took too long basically going up the hill. So I don't know. I just don't know what we're going to do. Like, we're going to see what we can do. We really don't want to give up yet. We've got like Sunday is probably our only window. It's Friday today. Sunday is our only window where it's not going to be snowing there. And the snow might have melted just enough to get up that path. I mean, you saw how crazy that path was. Just imagine that under half a metre of snow. So I don't know, we're going to see what we can do. We're not going to give up entirely yet, but at the minute it's not looking like we're going to be able to make it. And also to Theth, you know, we really wanted to go to Theth. It's one of the most famous points in the Accursed Mountains, and they've got like almost a metre of snow now, I think. It's just gone mad like over the last couple of days.
Some of you guys might remember from one of our earlier videos that we tried to get up to Theth, and our friend recommended we take a back road because the main road was too snowy, and that was like the most horrendous road I've ever seen in my life. And so we were gonna wait it out and give it a chance to get up the main road to Theth, and it's been like sunny and unseasonably warm the whole time we've been here. Yesterday, when we want to go up, it starts snowing. This is just typical, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every time we want to go to Theth, it snows, and that is not like a proper maintained paved road. It's got no barrier. It's right on a cliff edge, and so slipping and sliding in the snow up there is like a surefire way to land yourself down in the canyon, I think.
Oh yeah, we'd die for sure. We'd crash and die. And I know there's a few people on YouTube who like to always point out that we should have snow chains, and yeah, we agree. We really should have snow chains.
But they don't fit our twin rear wheels.
That's why we're not going to go up, you know. We wouldn't be that stupid. We have common sense, despite what some people think. We're not going to just drive into the snowy oblivion and hope for the best, you know. We only go when we think we can make it. This is a road that's going to be used by a few people. There's no barrier whatsoever. It's just not worth the risk. We've got really good winter tyres, but we're not going to mess with it. You can't mess with that kind of weather.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not too sure what we're going to be doing now. We're going to leave Komani Lake in a minute because we need to upload a video for you guys in the city because there's literally no signal here whatsoever. There was a ridiculous storm the other night and we think one of the signal towers got blown out because in the middle of this mad lightning storm it just cut out and we had nothing since. We've been here with nothing basically.
Yeah.
So we're going to go and do that. We'll show you this hectic road that we've driven down on the way back to the city. And then when we get there, I think we're just going to make a bit more of a plan and try and work out what we're going to be doing over the next few days because this snow is kind of here to last for a while at higher levels. Every road out of Albania is going to be pretty mountainous, so we're just going to have to see what we can do. Anyway, yeah, we hope you enjoyed our time up in the mountains and hopefully we can bring you some more soon.
Yep. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. So we're just leaving the lakeside now. Luckily it stopped raining, but there's still a lot of flood water just pouring down off these mountains. It's incredible. You can really see now why the road is in such a bad condition, because there's no drainage, and over the years it's just kind of ripped the road right off, and it's terrible. It's one of the worst roads we've driven in Albania, and that says a lot actually. We were going to bring the drone out, now it's stopped raining, but I don't know if you can see behind me, but there's like 6 or 7 individual lines of power cables all leaving the hydro power plant heading for the city. So it's just like too much damage everywhere. I think if we take the drone up, we're going to end up hitting one of these power lines, because you can barely see them, you know. Okay, that wasn't there when we drove down this road. So, yeah. Which way should I go then? I mean, through it obviously, but which side of the road?
I'm gonna say right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but I might be wrong. I normally make the worst.
There's a guy over there. Oh, he just walked around the side, look. Mate.
Careful.
Arrived back in Skoda, and I thought we would show you, just for a bit of fun, just how manic this city is. We actually found Tirana, the capital, to be a lot more calm because they've got traffic lights and most people tend to use them. But here there's only roundabouts, and if you think that's bad enough, they also throw in loads of cyclists to the mix here, and the cyclists have absolutely no idea how to use the road. They'll be driving up the wrong side, they'll be using roundabouts the wrong way round. There's just a complete mishmash of chaos, and cyclists everywhere here. It's your worst nightmare. So just thought we'd show you a little bit of what it's like to drive in Albania, just for a laugh. So enjoy.
You get the idea. After a quick reminder of why cities just don't do it for us, we drove on to our final stop for the day, Lake Skadar. We'd spend the following day here deciding what to do next. Should we leave Albania? Should we wait for the snow to pass and head back into the mountains? You'll have to wait to the next episode to find out what happens.
Each and every day, every day.